Arriving soon, Mojang has announced the Happy Ghast update for Minecraft. This new mob is incredibly powerful and gives the player many new abilities. But are these too strong? Learn it all in this video. So to get the Happy Ghast and all the features that come with it, we need to find a dried ghast. Now a dried ghast is found in the Nether, as you may guess. But not just anywhere in the Nether, it's in the Soul Sand Valley, which actually spawns the most ghasts of any biome in the game. Now once you go to the Soul Sand Valley filled with skeletons, there's going to be a lot of different fossils there, and these are a great way to get bone blocks, but now they're also the way to get ghast heads, as sometimes there's ghast heads near them, and so once you pick up these ghast heads, we could rehydrate them. But when you put down a bucket of water, of course you can't have water in the Nether. So once we've collected some of these ghast heads, and trying to avoid the skeletons that are here, we can go back to the overworld. Alright, now that we're back in the overworld, we can place water to waterlog this Happy Ghast. Now when it's in the water, it'll slowly have its face go from unhappy to happy, and this just happens on the texture of this small item. It's a placeable item sort of like a head, but you can only place it in 4 directions. Now within a few minutes it'll turn into the Happy Ghast. But at this stage it's a Ghastling, a baby ghast. And the dried ghast rehydrates really quickly. It only takes a few minutes versus the turtle egg, which can often take an hour. Now once you have your Ghastling flying around, with its interesting pink texture and almost gills that are on the side of it, I'm not exactly sure why, what you want to do is feed it. And because this mob is now a sort of water-based mob, you're gonna feed it snowballs. So every time you feed it a snowball, its timer for growing up is reduced by 10%. That means that if you continue to give it snowballs, it'll end up growing up in just a few seconds. So if you give, let's say, 64 snowballs, they'll grow up instantly. Now they'll follow whatever players have given them snowballs, but especially the ones that have fed them originally. And the Ghastlings love the snowballs, so if you're starting to lose them, and they'll float right towards you. So now that we've fed our Ghastlings, we have the giant Happy Ghast. This mob is literally the biggest mob in the entire game by volume, as that's what the standard Ghast is too. However, this Happy Ghast cannot shoot fireballs, as it's water-based. In the lore now, we have this water-based ghast that's made from the original lava-based ghast inside of the Nether. Now to ride the flying ghast, we don't need a saddle. Actually, it has a unique item, its own harness. It's crafted with 2 glass, 1 wool, and 3 leather. So it means that it's a very cheap recipe, and it's actually easier to get than any other way of riding a mob, with no saddle required. And because the recipe uses wool, there's no basic version of this texture, and that's because, as you can see, the texture is a giant saddle with a hanging cloth beneath it, and it has large cartoonish glasses. Now these have somewhat of a function. They go up when the ghast is dormant and just floating around, but if it's being ridden, the glasses will be down to be sort of a windscreen for it. Now this is a very silly feature and doesn't exactly fit Minecraft's aesthetic, but you can see we can have these beautiful patterned saddles with all kinds of different colors, any of the 16 you want. Now when you control this ghast, it's the first player that mounts it that can control it. This is the same as with a boat or with a camel. And the Happy Ghast has incredible speed, matching that of the normal ghast. You can see that you can navigate in all different directions, almost like creative mode, with a really great range of movement. Now a ghast also functions like a horse. When you're on top of it, it doesn't move at all, it'll only move when you tell it to. However, when you're off of it, it'll just fly around, but it will follow you somewhat like an allay might. So the ghast can have a total of 4 players on it, 1 on each side. This makes it also incredibly powerful for transporting players. So that's how you can ride this incredibly overpowered transportation, faster than horses, can fly over mountains, and overall is just an incredible new feature. Now, the flying ghast also has a lot of features outside of transportation, and these are the ones that Mojang seems to have prioritized the most in the announcement. Now the ghast has a platform on top of it that's solid, somewhat like a boat, so when you get off the ghast you have this solid platform to walk around on, although I hope it's not as glitchy as boat platforms. Now when you're on top of this, you can use it to build underneath things. This is used for buildings in the air, or just anything with long hanging down pieces pieces. This can be useful in caves as well, building something off of the roof of them, or even in large houses. So more or less, this gives survival mode players the ability to easily navigate around their builds. Now it definitely will not be able to shoot fireballs, and this was confirmed. And one thing I did notice is that it does still make the annoying gas sounds in the overworld. So just be aware that there'll be those if you have a lot of them around your base. Another feature that was announced at Minecraft Live 2025 was the player locator bar. Now this is something that will replace the XP bar sometimes, and will show you the directions to find your friends. This is a feature that's in many other games, where you more or less have a small indicator that shows you which direction one of your teammates are in. Although when you go to find them, just know that there'll be no stealth, as the Ghast is 5 blocks by 5 blocks in size, the biggest mob in the game. Now there's some benefits and negatives to the flying Ghast. Just because it's so powerful, there's a lot of reaching effects. Let's start with the benefits. It is the first flying mount in the game, which makes it incredibly fun as a way to fly around your world, tour it, and also build. It has a 4-player capacity and a solid platform on it, so this helps you to build and also transport players. The speed makes it a very effective transport method, and it doesn't even require the standard saddle. Now there are also some reaching effects of this. This does give creative mode benefits to a survival mode player. Actually, a quote from one of the devs:
I think the Happy Ghast is gonna be a great tool for our survival builders, because it's a bit like being in creative mode, but in survival, right?
This to me is confirmation this feature is certainly seen as something that's giving new benefits and new abilities to the survival mode player that were never there before. If you're quick in Minecraft, you can get yourself a Happy Ghast incredibly quickly, only really taking a few minutes if you already have another portal. It's incredibly powerful as it basically has better flight than the Elytra, so you can more or less go through the full progression chain in just a few minutes. Now not just the Elytra, also scaffolding, elevators, horses, and other transport systems, even temporary building blocks have all been made much less useful by this feature. Although of course I don't think anyone will be missing temporary building blocks. Mojang originally added scaffolding to fix this issue, so the fact that it was overtaken by the more effective solution of the Happy Ghast is quite interesting. It gives early game players a lot of power and more ability to go around the world, almost like being able to tour your world on top of a cloud before you even play in it. Now because this does give players a lot of advantage in terms of PvP and other situations, I'm sure that some servers will end up disabling this mob. But one thing that's very interesting about this update overall is that it's more or less changing the style of the game, and it's not just the first one that's been doing this. It's interesting to see, as Minecraft's original objective was to align with a medieval style. But as an example, the new Ghast harness is literally a cartoon aviator's cap, directly. It's not portraying a logical situation, and it's because it's turning into a more cartoonish style using cartoon logic. Because of this, it means that we should be expecting a lot more modern item additions to the game in the future, as this requirement of it being medieval seems to be removed. So because of this, we're probably entering a new era of updates, and in terms of the power that this mob has too, I'm assuming that more overpowered features coming soon will probably be the case. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to press the like button, subscribe, comment down below what you think of the Flying Ghast, the Happy Ghast, the Ghastling, and the Dried Ghast, or they're all just the same. I'll see you in the next video, and have a great day. Goodbye!